Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sidelined, the podcast to get your fix while sports are in limbo. Here are your hosts, Avi Labar, Carlin Baith, and yours truly, John Root.
I had a spider on my microphone before we started this whole thing, so we're lucky we made it this far. All right. Anyways, we have a very special guest for you guys. A lot of you probably know who he is. He's a lot funnier than we are. I can promise you that. John, who do we have today?
We have one of the most unique, creative, absolutely insane people in the sports and entertainment industry. And he's also our first guest with a Wikipedia page. So he's a very big deal. We got Cabbie Richards. I'm so excited to hear from him.
John, it was such a great conversation too. So thank you for bringing him on the podcast. And for the listeners at home, no spiders were harmed in the filming of this podcast.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're here with the man, the myth, the legend. You probably know him. He's the social media superstar, and he is now the host of Bleacher Report's Gameday game show and BR Betting's show host, Cabbie Richards. Welcome to Sidelined, Cabbie.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me. Quite a crew you got with you. This is tremendous.
Welcome to House Party.
Yeah, when do we get to the cocktails?
I already had one. It's 5 o'clock on the East Coast. So, or no, it's 8 o'clock on the East Coast. It's 5 o'clock there. So
I'm ready. At some point, I am going to take a quick TV timeout and just go to the fridge, pop open a little ginger beer and maybe splash some Grey Goose in there and then, shake it up. And
the Moscow Mule guy.
Yes, 1,000%.
Is that your go-to drink?
Yeah, because you never really feel fifth one. Because it's very smooth and it's like a refreshing drink. And then all of a sudden you get up, you're like, oh, I'm extra happy right now. I'm feeling great. You're bouncing around a little bit. Voice gets a little louder, hand gestures and everything for me because I'm annoying, just get bigger. So Moscow Mule, that's my go-to.
But now we're talking about drinks. I got to know. It's always a discussion in the States. I know you're from Canada, but you're living in Vegas now. We're going to go over that. Are you a Truly or White Claw guy?
Uh-oh.
Neither.
What hard seltzer?
Either.
What?
But you haven't had either? Maybe Bud Light Seltzer? You haven't had that either?
No, I'm not a 22-year-old senior at Arizona State University.
Okay. I think a lot of the population would disagree with that.
Mainly Abby right here.
Mainly me. Okay. Because I'm 24 and I went to NC State. We thought we were White Claw.
She drinks White Claw for breakfast, okay?
Wow, that is commitment. Are they that tasty?
I am not a beer person, and so that's like my alternative because it's like, well, it's too early to drink a Grey Goose, and I already drank my bottle of wine the night before. So that's sometimes, that's pretty much the best option there.
Yeah, what's the line about White Claw? There's like some funny line about
ain't no laws when you're drinking claws.
Yes.
That's right. That's what it is. Yeah.
I've never felt worse about being 28 and drinking hard seltzers, Cabbie.
Is that your move right now, Johnny?
That's my move. That's my move. I mean, I'm still like an IPA guy, like classic, like I guess like, white boy thing. Yeah, could I get a double IPA? but if I'm not drinking that, I feel like I got to have a hard seltzer. I got Truly's just stacked in the fridge like it's Cribs over here. Like, oh, let's check my refrigerator. It's just stocked.
I wonder if those are as scarce as toilet paper and, friggin' paper towel and, antibacterial soap. Have you guys noticed?
I'm surprised they're not.
Okay. Well,
alcohol sales are booming.
They are
and they're still there.
You can click when you order something on Amazon, you can click the reoccurring delivery option.
Oh my goodness.
That's what we have our White Claw on. Yeah.
I
live with Sarah Sivian
so much.
For sure on reoccurring delivery.
Oh, for sure for Sarah.
Shout out, Sarah.
Love it.
But Cabbie, now that we're going to transition out of alcoholic drinks, can you tell us a little bit more about what you've been doing for Bleacher Report and out in Vegas?
Yeah. So we've gone from the fun stuff to the not so fun stuff. No, I'm just kidding. Vegas it's been cool. I got this new gig hosting a weekly football show, like a betting show at the Caesars Palace Sportsbook. So Bleacher Report and Caesars formed this partnership, and every Sunday morning, and for you guys, we're all on the West Coast except for Abby. I mean, like call time is like 6 a.m., the show is live at 9:15, 12:15 on the East Coast, and when it pops up on the Bleacher Report app. So like those mornings are early, but we watch, the 1:00 games at 10:00. So by 4:00, like basically everything's over. You get ready for the Sunday nighter. And getting into the betting world, and I wasn't much of a bettor before. These cats are animals. Like their appetite for betting is salacious, like rapturous. Like cats are betting on, because we're in a period where there's no sports. I actually had a friend who was betting on like Uzbekistani soccer or something. Like it was like the middle of Central Asia, like some sports league, like the third tier. I was like, man, you guys are
Someone's recording on their iPhone or something like that. You're getting a janky live stream of that, or what is it?
No, there are no live streams. It's just, you just have to trust the information that appears on the app on whatever platform it is, Bovado or
that's some darknet stuff right there.
Really is. So it was a big learning curve for me because I didn't know much of the language of betting, locks and chalk and road dogs and all this. So I was learning on the fly, and my co-host, her name is Kelly Stewart. She is so dialed in, and like gambling is her life. So I learned a bunch from her, and it's been pretty cool. And just as a casual fan, like I occasionally, the first time I bet on and this is because I'm Canadian, first time I made a bet at Caesar's Palace were 2 hockey games. It was the Leafs at the Vegas Golden Knights in a parlay with the Edmonton Oilers versus I'm not sure. So I'm like, let me go with the 2 Canadian teams. The Oilers came through. The Leafs, of course, lost. The next day they fired Mike Babcock.
Yep.
Before they go to Arizona, and then they kind of.
Yeah, that was a great situation.
Yeah. So, but I went with all my Bleacher Report colleagues, and every time Vegas won 4-2. So every time Vegas scored, it was either like a USA chant, or they were just cheering, like everybody just screaming in my face. Like I was absorbing droplets of White Claw and whatever seltzers they were selling at T-Mobile Arena. I was just absorbing them, just pinging off my cheeks and my eyelids, and that's the punishment that I absorbed because I bet on 2 Canadian hockey teams. I really should have bet on football, but I didn't.
So it's interesting that you said you learned a lot from your co-host, and
Yes.
we had this conversation on another podcast about a lot of this is for people listening that are getting into the industry and want to be aspiring reporters. But like when you don't know the sport you're getting into, it's still very you can very much, like I said, I didn't know hockey before I started working for the Canes. So like with betting, like same thing with you, like you didn't know that. So are you still learning? Like what's the best process of teaching yourself that, and just kind of your words of advice for people that are like, oh, I would never cover this sport, or I would never do that. But like, you can't count those things out,
You're right. When I would cover the Stanley Cup playoffs, there's less room for the jokey kind of stuff that I like to do. So when I was at TSN, I would lean on like Pierre LeBrun, or I'd lean on, what's James's last name? Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting. There was one of the writers for The Athletic, and The Athletic is so dense with stats for every sport. So it's like, let me just figure out what the hell Corsi is. And like, so I try to mix in like 1 or 2 sportsy questions, just so when the PR guys they're kind of leaning in to make sure that I'm not, going off the rails. They'll hear like, oh yeah, your guys' puck possession in the offensive zone is blah, 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 X, Y, and Z. So then they can turn and go somewhere else. And then all of a sudden my face is in Brent Burns' beard, and I'm like poking through the bottom under his chin while nobody's watching. Like that's what I prefer to do. So I'll just lean on other colleagues who are much more informed. And then, when I need to like understand more about the game or more about betting in a statistical way, I'll go to like 538, or I've found like new websites which make it a little bit easier for me, but there's a lot of homework. So I don't sound like a complete imbecile when I'm trying to say something that this specific audience just knows by as a second hand.
Piggybacking off of that and you coming out of Brent Burns' beard, that just seems so on brand for you.
Yeah.
And you have kind of developed this brand about yourself, about how like unapologetically you are. And how have you kind of been able to span that across your career in those serious situations and in those not so serious situations, and kind of always be yourself at the end of the day throughout all of it?
It was a lot of trial and error, and not everybody's into it. Like I started I started back in 2001. So journalism was very traditional, and I'm not a journalist, but like reporting on sports was very traditional. It didn't really change until like Bill Simmons started infusing pop culture into his writing on ESPN. But as far as on camera, and at ESPN, there was a guy named Kenny Mayne, and he had a show on their football pregame show. Before it was Main Street, it was called The Main Event.
Mm-hmm.
And he's very dry and sarcastic. So he would do these bits. And I always like admired that, because it was definitely different than all right, here's our lineup, the Lions versus the Packers. It's blah, blah, blah. They're just the regular stuff. So I have to pick my spots. And also sometimes the room, and hockey was the worst for this. Hockey is very like old establishment. So me being like a 25-year-old fat reporter from like this hip hop generation wearing t-shirts, baseball caps, and talking about Jordans.
Fat. Wait, you were not fat. Were you fat?
What?
Did I miss?
You weren't even fat.
something?
Like maybe you got a little chub there, but
No,
just
listen,
just a little
trust me.
chubby. Like,
Do I have to Google this?
Guys,
Cabbie
I don't know. I
Richards.
feel
Guys,
like
guys.
I missed something.
I
Don't Google
ate
chubby
Dustin
Cabbie.
Bufflin. That's how big I was.
No.
I ate Dustin Bufflin. Yes. So
Hold on.
so I had to.
Continue, and then we'll find out the secret to your fitness regimen now.
I'm looking at him.
Not
He's
anymore.
not fat.
Guys,
go ahead.
listen, I appreciate what you're trying to do for my ego, which is indeed quite fragile, but I have to look in the mirror every day. Single tear, left side. All right?
All right, continue. I'm over this already.
Okay. So there are times where I've had to edit on the fly and go with more serious stuff. Like during the NBA Finals, just 9 months ago, it's the Golden State Warriors versus the Toronto Raptors. This is in between Game 4 and Game 5. And I would only go interview, say 90% of the time I would interview players on the practice day, because the mood was a little bit better. And then I could joke around a little bit more versus game day where everybody's serious. And certainly no sport takes itself more serious than hockey. It's
For sure.
actually kind of annoying.
For sure. You're lucky to see a smile on a morning skate day compared to a practice day. Very different mood.
Yeah, 100%. You guys know, obviously you cover the teams. You see the guys there all the time. One of the directors of media for the NBA, his name is Jim LeBombard. He comes over. So I got some time with Klay Thompson, like 5 minutes. And just before he walks Klay Thompson over, so he comes over and goes, "It's just basketball, right? No Cabbie-ish?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, of course, just basketball stuff." So then I'm nervous. So he walks back, he walks away, and then he goes to get Klay. I'm just like, oh man. So immediately I'm like starting to edit. Because I like to, my goal is to show the human side of these athletes. And I like to get guys to either laugh or crack. Because people, I think, enjoy that as much as they enjoy someone, and hockey, again, the worst for cliches, got to get the pucks in deep, every shift 110%. Like, I don't even know how you guys battle through that, because certainly when you're working, rink side or pregame or postgame, you're just getting 1,000 variants of, no, not 1,000. You're getting 8 different variants of, play our game. This is our identity, whatever.
One game at a time.
One game at a time.
Gotta get pucks deep.
Yeah.
Gotta get pucks on net.
Then you times that by 82.
The
and it's
forecheck.
you're dreaming it like over and over again.
Your guys' jobs are so much harder than mine, because you have to inform the audience, and my goal was to entertain. So it was the opposite. So in a way, there was challenges to come up with creative things every time, because I'm always trying to challenge myself to come up with something that athlete has never done before, or something like, what can I get away with, or what would they feel comfortable doing? And you guys, like, it would become so mundane after. Certainly if your team is like, well, Carlin, you covered the Kings. The Kings haven't been
You have to get creative. It's exactly what you're talking about, because you want them to shine, even if they say something that's kind of redundant or something that, is a resort to the cliches. They don't want to say that. And it's just all about getting creative to like pull out the different thing out of them if you can. And it's kind of a lot like what you're leading up with right now.
It's interesting you said you have to entertain versus inform. And I think John and Carlin, you guys can agree with us. I'm going in-game host for a second. But like my boss specifically has always told me to inform and entertain. And especially in hockey, like that is a hard balance.
Yes.
So like where, and for you have kind of gotten into those scenarios now, Cabbie, where a lot, you did a lot of entertaining, but at the same time, you do get in those situations where you inform and entertain. It's not just one or the other.
I suppose that's true. And I guess the audience is learning something about the player that they otherwise don't get as often in other interviews or other video clips or whatnot. But I'm certain it's like 95. I aim to entertain. I don't always entertain. A lot of times people are like, this guy sucks. Like, I'm over this friggin' dude. Like, whereas I want to watch something else. But that's certainly my goal. And I have an advantage over you, Carlin and Abby, is because I can be physical with the players. I hug dudes. I've many times literally put my nose on another dude's cheek, just under his eye, maybe tickling his eyelash, or I'll put my lips close to someone's, right on someone's mustache, and they don't flinch. Some guys do, but some guys they get a kick out of it. So I can completely violate personal space because it's uncomfortable and because of the awkwardness. It might be funny, but you guys can't do that. It's just, those are lines that you can't cross. You know what I mean? So I do have a bit of an advantage in that regard.
You make it an art form too. It's truly an art form.
Yeah, I'm like a rhinoceros.
Incredible to watch. It's incredible to watch in person though, because when I was up in Toronto and we got to meet for the very first time in person, we talked over the phone, we've texted, we talked on social media, but to see you interact with some of those guys from San Jose, I was like, this is insane. But I was so enthralled in what was going on, because there's still guys that are just Wardo, where he was like, Cabbie, I don't know, man. I don't know if are we going to do this again? And but you still found a way to keep those guys there and keep them entertained, even though there's an uncomfortableness, there's still that connection. And I think it's just genius how you go about that.
Thanks. And the bit that John's talking about is I was trying to get samples for science. If they were to clone themselves for their future self. So I had a Q-tip, and I put a Q-tip in Joel Ward's mouth and then circled the inside of his cheek. I did the same for Logan Couture. And then after the morning skate, after the morning skate the next day, I cut one of Joe Thornton's beard hairs. I went right up in the root, towards the back of his, towards the base of his jaw. And I got one of, and I just put it in a little Ziploc bag. And, I do really bizarre things just because they pop into my head late at night. And just because no one else is really going to do that level of bleepery, I'll say.
So why? Why? How and why, or why and how, I guess. How can you be that comfortable? Where does that stem from? And is it a continuous growing experience for you? Or was there a point in your career where you just were it's nothing's uncomfortable to you anymore?
No, that's not true. I sustained many concussions being a pretend WWE wrestler when I was a kid. So jumping off couches onto my brothers, thinking I'm Randy Macho Man Savage, missing my brother by about 6 inches, banging my head. So I'm not right is what I'm saying. So some of the things that I come up with are not really appropriate, but I certainly push the boundaries of what is a reasonable interaction between media person, or quote unquote, air quotes, reporter and athlete. And I guess when I was younger, I just wanted to stand out, and I just wanted to do something fun. So my sort of North Star was Will Smith. And I used to steal all of Will Smith's material on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Every line that he would deliver, to Tyra Banks, Nia Long, who was the actress in Martin? Tisha Campbell, like all these incredibly beautiful actresses that were on Fresh Prince from like 92 to 97. All those lines, I would use them on girls in high school. And then like Jim Carrey was also informed my sensibilities. I have like 1% of 1% of their talent, but that's what I aim to. That was like my brand of trying to entertain. And then being in this kind of stale environment of like interviews with athletes, I wanted to spice it up. And certainly when I covered hockey, no one looked like me. I was from a similar culture as a lot of the players, because I was like 25 and they were 25, and we listened to Jay-Z albums and Nas and Eminem and stuff. So we spoke the same language. We like sneakers, we like girls, and we love sports. So it was like we could connect.
It's good to see some of those Will Smith Fresh Prince of Bel-Air lines finally work. Got married. So
Your microphone's doing
Done.
it again.
Done. Exorcist.
Whose mic? Is that John's mic?
John's mic turns
Yes.
into Bane from Batman.
It's
He
a
gets-
normal thing.
Yeah, it's normal.
All
It
right.
happens. He
Very
restarts.
I'm back.
Somebody
Am I
There
good
he
now?
is.
kicked his
Yeah.
soul out.
Holy crap. This is the second podcast
We
in
need
a
to-
row.
We need to cleanse your computer. Just
So the other cord,
There's
the other
something
cord,
he's
yeah,
not telling
seriously.
us.
One second.
oh boy.
So we got this for the computer.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, go on.
seriously.
Just touch all the corners.
Exorcist.
Easter was a few days ago, so
Oh
really
my
just-
God.
Unreal.
Oh.
So what were you
Well,
saying, John?
Yeah, what I was saying after I got exercised was obviously you're able to connect with players in just incredible ways, and you understood the aspect of the audience was just dying for stuff that's totally different from the mundane that they're getting all the time. And they're not going to look at you as just another young guy talking to another young guy talking about young guy stuff. It was human stuff. So like, how do you create that relationship and find that relatability that has been a huge success in your career and that people really connect with in the audience?
The biggest thing is trust. And I never had an agenda. Like I wasn't trying to, because I was there to entertain and not inform, I didn't care about who had a concussion or somebody's injury or a losing streak, or maybe there's some internal beef in the dressing room or the clubhouse. Like I was there asking about phones and top 5 lists and throwback jerseys and all kinds of just regular day, everyday stuff. So once they knew, like they figured out, okay, this guy is like just here for jokes, then they could let their guard down. So that was huge. And then when I did find out things, then I wasn't going to tell anybody anything because it didn't matter to me. And fostering a relationship with an athlete was way more important than, say, I saw a dude drinking before, game 3 of some series like that. That had no value to me. So that's a trust and having no agenda were like the 2 biggest factors in how I was able to get a little bit more out of athletes, because they're guarded because they've been let down before, they've been lied to before, they've had things that were off the record then become on the record. I mean, and it's been happening for decades. So that's how I was able to flourish.
And
Yeah, and
Carlin,
it's-
you related to that too, talking about like how the guys trust you being in the and like you travel on the team plane.
Yeah,
and, like,
we
that trust
talked
and
with
how important that is.
we talked with Gizmo about that, and you see a guy icing his shoulder, or you see a guy getting checked out by the doctor mid game, even like during the intermission, and it's just like, oh, okay. And you just, there's no agenda there. There's no, oh, I got to be the story breaker and tweet this out or make sure somebody finds out or something like that. That's a very good technique to have, and I feel like that trust building, like you said, is kind of probably why a lot of guys like to open up and have fun with you, because there is no agenda and there is no kind of
Yeah, probably the same with you as well. And and it's more rewarding for the audience because they see a different side. They go from like there are times when guys get into robot mode, then I just call them on it right away. I'm like, yeah, are we gonna? So like Kyle Lowry for the Raptors, he would always use the cliche at the end of the day. As soon as he hits me with one, I'm like, God, are we gonna just do the at the end of the day the whole interview? And then he would just be like, well, at the end of the day, we got to, because at the end of the day, so he would like double down on those cliches. But I like have to call dudes out. I'm like, I don't want robot speak, okay? Like even when like some of the harder players to interview in hockey are Sid and Connor. So it challenges me even more to go even further into left field as far as I can go, because their handlers are like right there. Like I can feel JJ Ebert from formerly of the Oilers just like breathing on my friggin' neck hairs. And then when with Sid, it was Frank Buonanno, and then Jen, what's Jen's last name? The current director.
I forget her last name. I just know it's Jen. Yeah.
So like they were very like I had more access to Kobe Bryant than I did to Sidney Crosby, and Kobe Bryant is a global athlete, and Sid, I mean, hockey is very regional. But it was like the death grip around, and like the it was like the Game of Thrones. It was like the wall. I had to like, somehow break through the wall at the at Castle Black in order to get beyond the wall to get this Sidney Crosby. And I only managed to interview that dude maybe 4 times in what is he in year 15 now? I think he came in 05, 06. So it's hard sometimes. Even though I'm going in just to have fun, they're still like very protective of certain players. And some guys, to be honest, don't really like it. I'm trying to think of who's the dude that Yager once was like, are you going to ask me stupid questions again? I'm like, yes, I am. And then I just went with it, because you have such a small amount of time with the athletes. And when I go in, you guys know, you walk into a dressing room, there's 50 reporters in there, and there's 30 minutes of availability. And some players only talk for 90 seconds or 2.5 minutes. So like, I'll either wait out the whole scrum and then try to sneak in on the side to get 2 or 3 questions in, or I just go in right away, get my 2-3 questions in, and then bounce. Cause nobody cares how hard the process is. They just want to see the product. Like nobody cares how many people touched your iPhone to make your iPhone, all these parts coming in from all over the world. You just want your iPhone. You don't care how long it took to make it. You just want this new. So like, I think of that when it comes to the audience just wants to see something new, and they don't care how long or how hard it took to get it. So
talking to Connor McDavid is a process in itself. And I went on the road for the first time last year, so I'd never been in the Edmonton Oilers dressing room. I'd never seen the process of getting to talk to him. And Cabbie, I don't know if you ever had to do what you do in a scrum, but I tried to go on the side to just ask him a couple questions at morning skate, about our team and kind of like diagnose what the game was going to be like or whatever. And I got like arm right in front of me, like he's talking to everybody all at once, and I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Okay, that's fine. Worst. And I totally understood it though. Like, you got to do what you got to do, because I'm sure everybody wants to talk to him. But has there been a situation like that where you're like, okay, we got to do it all at once because he's only doing one scrum, and I got to ask him about what kind of goldfish crackers flavors he likes?
That's a great question.
Has there ever
that
been
humanized Connor McDavid?
Right. Have you ever had to do that in those moments though,
yes.
where it's like, there's only this one opportunity. Sorry, Cabbie, you got to do it in front of 15 of these people? Yes.
So to answer your question, yes, it's happened to me. So I still wait to the end and like see if the demeanor, like try to have eye contact with the athlete and just see if the athlete's willing to do it. But sometimes it just doesn't work out, and I don't get any clip because the PR staff, they're the guardians, and they're not letting. It's like they build a moat around the athlete. Like, yeah, good luck getting across this moat. It is now 17 feet wide. So good luck, fatty. So
I'm over the fatty.
I'm just saying.
Okay, yeah, we're setting the record straight. Cabbie was never chubby or fat or any synonym.
I will send you photos. I have a photo.
Okay, send the photos. Send the photos, and then I'll believe you.
All right. I have a photo with after Kobe won his 5th NBA title. We were in the locker room, and I gave him an Oscar. I said, "This isn't the NBA championship trophy, but this is my trophy for you." and my face looked like a cantaloupe. It was like, I was like, oh, is that a manatee walking around on 2 feet? Yes. And I was wearing a red shirt, huge jowls, and just sweating. Like, why am I sweating? I did no work. I just had to wait for Kobe to emerge from the press conference. But then there I was sweating, and it just was not a good look. Anyway, that is a real story.
But now you're just super fit. You just look like an absolute stud. You're married. You got it all together. I mean, I'm blown away, Cabbie.
Guys, I am lying to you, okay? Like, anything you see on social media that I post, it is a lie. It is either, it's like everybody knows the right angle to shoot themselves or the way they like to be photographed. I fully am about that life. And like, I might do like, oh, the push-up challenge. Oh, 20 push-ups a day. I'm huffing and puffing after those 20 push-ups, but I'm not posting that part of reality. It's just like the shining, glittery, nicely packaged part of my life. I am lying, openly lying to people on the gram.
Now we know about those CrossFit like pictures and videos. You just like sprayed your water bottle on yourself before, and it's like, man, it looked like you really worked hard.
It is a commercial shoot. It is definitely not, it's not a documentary. It's the 30 seconds of a polished thing versus the 2 hours while I've stopped on a mid-run and I'm like almost friggin' suffocating on either some aphids that have entered into my mouth or just general me being out of shape. Hold on a sec. My lady just came home. That's okay, sweetheart. Want to come say hi? You might as well.
We're just talking about how we didn't we didn't even
That's
know.
my lady.
Hi. See, there's real life right there.
That was real life.
Proof.
Nobody's gonna see. This is an audio of me, so you're just gonna have to use your imagination. Kids at home listening to this, wherever you are.
But we were talking about earlier how there's either like legit walls up from like PR or just the way a player is or just other factors. And there's also invisible walls. And I feel like people always had invisible walls when it came to people like Kobe, where it's like he is such a massive superstar. Everybody knows him worldwide, and there's going to be no one that can break down that wall and really get to know him and hear some of these stories that you were able to bring out. Like we listened to some of the videos and things that TSN did with you, talking about like you were closer than anyone else in the Canadian sports media market. Like, how were you able to break down that wall and talk a little bit about that experience with Kobe and then talking about that relationship you had with him with TSN and other networks?
Well, I came around at the right time because when I popped up on his radar, he had, this was like a year after his trial in Colorado. So he wasn't that popular of an athlete, still elite. But as far as interviews and endorsements, I think McDonald's had severed ties, Sprite, and Nutella, and only Nike was in business with Kobe Bryant. So because I went in, just like the very first time I interviewed him, I was asking about bandwagon fans in LA, and I intercut it between the Lakers and the Kings, and both teams were in Toronto around the same time. So Jeremy Roenick was on the Kings at the time. I think Mike Camilleri was. It was with like the black and purple sweaters. Not that pretty of a sweater. It wasn't like the Marcel Dion LA Kings sweaters. Who else was on the team? I think Craig Conroy, maybe. This is like 05. This is how old it was.
I was gonna say early 2000s for sure.
Yeah. And then here's the thing is like, I always asked to stay at his house. So that was like a common thread in our interviews. And then who would be that dumb to ask someone of Kobe's status or stature to like literally stay at his house? So I asked him for his address. I asked him for his phone number many times. I asked him like various ways. I brought like pillows. Once I gave him pajamas for a sleepover. I brought CDs. Once I cut a key for my house and I gave it to Kobe. Like it was, I rented a limo. So we go on a limousine. I just wanted to be his friend. And that was the whole dynamic of our relationship. It's like, I'm going to be like the doughy younger brother to his big brother. And I'm just going to serve him softballs and he's going to knock it out of the park. So people heard him laugh for the first, well, maybe not the first time, but they heard him laugh. And it was the opposite of his demeanor on the court, where he was just like a tremendous, tenacious killer. So that's like because he trusted me early on, then I was able to humanize him and have these incredible moments with him, which then culminated into a helicopter ride. So when Kobe left us, like that moment really hit me hard because I've had that shared experience with him, my producer, Dave Cricks, and I. So that was like pretty surreal, but he elevated my work unlike any athlete before because of his stature and because of the purely ridiculous things that I would ask him. And every time I saw Kobe, this is our interaction, like, "What's up, Cabster? They let you over the border?" And I was like, "Yes." And I would always say, your president gave me a pardon. At the time it was President Obama. So at the end of every interview, I would pitch him 2 new ideas. And he'd be like, "Nah." He was very non-committal. And one time I pitched him an idea about me being a prospective buyer of one of his mansions in Orange County. And at the end, he comes home and he's got these 2 big dogs. And then the punchline is he sicks the dogs on me. And he's like, "Man, I want you to write me some Dave Chappelle show shit." I was like, "What? Dave Chappelle shit?" I'm like, "I'm a fat reporter from Toronto. What do you mean?" Dave Chappelle is a comedic genius. Like, he was just, recognized in the Kennedy honors or Kennedy Center honor. Like, he is won the Mark Twain award for literature or performance or whatever the Mark Twain prize is. Like, he's one of the gods of comedy. You want me to elevate to that level? So that's how he pushed me. But anyway, the final bit that he agreed to, and unfortunately we never got to shoot it, was so. And then also, like, I would get like one of my friends, I would sketch and I would get like a Photoshop done of the bit so that he could take it home and like, okay, this is, and evaluate it. So one was like an AA meeting for superheroes after he retired. So he was running the AA meeting. No, I was running the AA meeting and he was just one of the superheroes. He didn't like that one. One was the 20-year anniversary of his draft class. He's like, "I don't want to do this yet." And then the one he really liked was, what if Kobe didn't go to the NBA right away? What if he went to Duke University? And so this would be 1996. And at Duke University, I was his roommate. So when I pitched him that one, he goes, "This is really funny." And he goes, and then his language was much more colorful about our interactions in what they would have been at university. So I wrote, so then 2 weeks later, wrote the first draft, wrote the second draft, wrote third draft. This is like 5-minute bit. And then, so I sent it to a lady named Molly Carter. Molly Carter runs Kobe Inc., like her email address. Anyway, So the feedback from Molly was, "Yeah, you got to change the ending." Because at the ending in the original one was like, "There'll be girls in our room." And I'm like, it's college, it's 1996. Like, of course there can be girls in our room. We're not robots. So then I had 2 more revisions, sent them. And she's like, "I sent this to Kobe." And then it was just like crickets. And then Kobe does a short film, short documentary that wins an Oscar. And then Kobe launches like a publishing company and he started writing books. So he had like no time for my silly idea, but he did like it originally. And I wish we could have done it because I think there would have been some gold in there. But I just had to rewrite some of the obvious sophomoric humor that runs freely in my brain. I had to, edit some of that out.
It's incredible. It's been so fun, like hearing you talk about that candidly. And there's so much joy in that too. That's what I love too. It was a genuine friendship. It wasn't just another athlete that you ended up doing a few bits with or a few just like content pieces. That was a legitimate friend and it was fun.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, I will say this though. I've never been to his house. I've had dinner with him once. So we weren't like, I did send him, I sent him a text once. The last time we were messaging was around Christmas, just saying, happy holidays, hope the fam's well, all that kind of stuff. And then also on New Year's Eve. But I did once send him a message. I was like, "Kobe, this is totally out of left field, but you're your own man. Like, you've never really followed the same path as everybody." Just trying to gas him up a little bit. Kobe, I would love to introduce you at the NBA Hall of Fame. Think about it. It would come out of left field. Nobody would be expecting it. And I'm a damn good speechwriter. Left me on red forever. Like, zero response. Like, it just, absorbed it, saw it, but then nothing. So that's basically what our relationship was like.
That's awesome.
Love that.
So you're talking about all the stuff that you were writing, like the ideas that you had for Kobe, and this kind of goes back to, you know, everything that you've done. You're an idea man, that's for sure. So in a time like this, when, you know, people have to be really creative, and I'm sure you've had to be creative as well, like what is kind of your biggest, you know, form of advice for people that are like stuck right now, or maybe have that writer's block? Because this is like a more crucial time than ever to be creating content, or trying to like really dig down the black hole of your creativity, like in your brain and stuff.
It really is tough. And I don't have it figured out. I'm shooting unboxing videos. Like I'm teaching myself how to use Final Cut just because I want to keep some level of creativity in my life at most times. And at Bleacher Report, you know, on the betting side, we're leaning into how do we fill the void of sports? Because the void is tremendous. And that is an escape for hundreds of millions of people. So like we have brainstorming sessions all the time. And like the dumber ideas are sometimes even the better ones, because we really don't know what's going to connect with the audience. We're trying to we're in an attention economy. We're trying to pry away seconds or minutes from kids that are gaming, or people that are just burning through shows on Netflix, and their phones are always in their hands. And like, how can we get them away from double tapping on Instagram or watching an endless TikTok loop that will last? You could be in that vortex for 45 minutes and then just come out of it like, it's 6:15. Like, where did, you know, and you're watching all these people dance, or these dogs doing tricks, or whatever. So it's not easy. And I guess my suggestion would be that try to read or try to fill your brain with information or areas of inspiration from different sources. So I like to read tech blogs and design and like advertising. Like I read Fast Company, Wired, I read Esquire, Vox, like just things that I wouldn't necessarily get in sports. And maybe that might inspire an idea like, oh, maybe I can ask this about someone's phone because I saw this article in Fast Company about some you know, augmented reality overlay, or I don't know, which might, would it be fun to play a game with a guy and we build some kind of ping pong thing over at a stall, and I don't know, you know, at a person's hockey stall or something like that. Like it could be anything, but I would say try everything or try anything. And this is the time to be risky, because you don't know what's going to stick, and you don't know what might be good, because really it's the audience that decides. I mean, even though Tiger King is super trashy, it has just been in the zeitgeist for 3 weeks, and people are still talking about this friggin' show. Like I think 34 or 35 million people have seen Tiger King. Like it's like, they're just like terrible humans. They're all terrible humans, but somehow we friggin' ate that up like it was a buffet, and it was just like the most delicious. I don't know if you're In-N-Out burger or if you're more Five Guys or
In-N-Out, baby.
Right. So imagine an In-N-Out buffet, and there was like, this buffet, you won't consume any calories. So you could just eat guilt-free. That's what watching 7 episodes of friggin' Tiger King was like. I know I went way off course there, but hopefully there's like one nugget.
Wait.
Monologue.
Did she kill her husband?
Oh, 1,000%. Carol Baskin. Yo, Carol Baskin has a dance on TikTok, which is
Carol
hilarious.
Baskin.
Yeah.
Wait, I haven't seen that one.
Whacked him. Like it's like a whole thing.
To Cabbie's point, I have to do TikTok, and like I have to know that I'm going to be going down the rabbit hole. So I have to give myself 2 hours before I open up TikTok. So I haven't opened it in a few days.
Yeah, right. Because you know that it's just going to just murder your time. You know, I did a bit once, speaking about rabbit holes, with some of the LA Kings about like just open up. So, and it required a lot of trust. So I said, so it was Jeff Carter, Tyler Toffoli, Tanner Pearson, guys who I'm pretty close with.
That 70s line. All right.
Yeah. And so I said, okay, where's your phone? And so they reluctantly, you know, pulled out their phones. I'm like, right? If anybody says, where's your phone? Or let me look at your phone. That is a huge leap of faith.
Yes.
Giving someone, because like, that is maybe the most private, other than like letting someone see your bank account. Bank account might be, the most private, and then it's like your phone.
And your Google history would be.
You know what?
She went there.
What would you guys rather have your Google history be released or like a nude photo of yourself be released?
Google history.
Yeah.
Mine's pretty clean.
No, I'll take the new picture.
History.
I take the new photo.
Oh, okay.
Oh
What about
no,
you, John?
I don't even want to know what his Google history is.
Honestly, I feel like I've been working out a lot, so
You
it
can
might
do
not be
both.
too bad to have that photo come out.
Abby, what about you?
Google history for sure.
Wow.
I'm not ashamed.
Oh,
of
I
what
am
look
definitely
up on
ashamed
Google.
because Google knows you more than you know yourself because you are 1000% vulnerable to Google when you're typing up like, why are my toes green? Or you know, what's in
I've done
carrot
that
juice? Like you're asking Google the dumbest questions ever. Like if someone else was reading over your shoulder, be like, bro, that's what you're Googling right now? You would feel so embarrassed.
It's your intelligence and your ego that's in question when it comes to your
Big
Google
time.
history. I didn't think of it that way.
Big time. Big
I
time.
still don't think I'm ashamed though.
You're a better human than I.
Wait, so what did you find in Jeff Carter's phone?
Oh yeah. So the thing was about deep dives, right? And so I said, open
Speaking
up
of rabbit holes.
Yeah, and rabbit holes. Yeah, open up YouTube and then just give the titles of the first 5 videos that Google suggests to you because you don't really know how the algorithm works, and so and then when you open it, it's always new videos that pop up on that side tab. So Jeff had a bunch of like kids videos. Like one of those shows with like trains, not Blue's Clues, something Pause.
Oh, Paw Patrol.
Paw Patrol,
Paw
yeah.
Patrol. So it was basically all that. And then one thing was like best goals of 2019 or 2018 or something like that. And then Tyler and Tanner had, I think there was one conspiracy video in there. Another was like UFC something. They're pretty benign, but it's also, you're very vulnerable because then you're just showing your phone without like having to like, oh, let me just move this around or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then when you go and, when you start somewhere on YouTube and then, 60 minutes later it spits, you start with like, at home workouts. And then you end up with, is Dana White part of the Illuminati? Like that's where it spits. Then like, okay, I've gone too far on YouTube.
Oh my goodness.
All right, we're gonna play a game with you then, since you're on the game train right now.
Let's do it.
All right, we're going to start out with the most awkward segment you have ever done with a player. If you could share that with us.
Oh yeah. Most awkward. Oh my gosh. Like the segment was awkward. Oh man. No, I know it was either, oh man.
He's going through his Rolodex right now.
Listen, I'm a very strange individual, so I've done some really awkward and uncomfortable things.
I can set you up a little bit here. I liked that you got Rob Gronkowski's middle name wrong and totally owned up to it and was like,
Yes.
that was
Thank you.
very awkward.
It's Robert James Gronkowski, but on,
Yeah.
on Wikipedia it was Robert Paxton. Yes, yeah. Rightfully so.
So why was it Paxton on Wikipedia? Did you find that out?
No, somebody else. He said one of his buddies told him it was Paxton, but his real name is James. I guess, well, you don't really, someone else edits your Wikipedia page or they create it for you. So unless you're vigilant about like making sure things are correct, then it's up to some random shadowy figures in the night that are editing all these Wikipedia pages. Well,
You're
okay.
the first guest to have a Wikipedia page too, so that's.
You have a Wikipedia page?
Gronkowski does? Yeah, of course.
No, do you?
Oh, yeah, I think so. But it's like a paragraph.
Humble brag. Yeah,
No. Listen, like.
It talks about young, chubby Cabbie for sure. But
As it
it's
should.
still a Wikipedia page.
As it should. Listen, like a pencil has a Wikipedia page. Like Crayola pencil crayons. That I'm sure has a Wikipedia page. So I don't feel that special. The most awkward moment was I spit gum into Steve Nash's lap once, and the gum landed right in his bathing suit area. So then I had to decide, let that marinate for a second. Then I had to decide how am I going to get the gum out of his lap? I spit it into his lap. So am I going to reach in to his junk? So I was wearing this really stupid cowboy hat. So I started to I was trying to knock the gum off of his shorts, and I just kept hitting him like 6 or 7 times. Like it was whack-a-mole unintentionally, but bang is like 100 points, 200 points, 300 points. So finally, like it ricocheted out of his lap, and then I just had to leave. I just left the locker room.
What are you doing chewing gum on camera?
No, it was before I went to Mints because I talked so closely to players. Actually, one time Kyle Lowry called me out once. He's like, "Yo, did you just have a burrito?" And I was like, "Yeah, it was the onions," because he could smell it. And when I get that close to people, they're smelling my pores.
Oh,
so,
for sure.
One time, PK Subban was like, "Did you go out drinking last night?" I'm like, "Yes, I did." Like he could smell the Belvedere or the Tito's pouring out of the little bristles on the side of my cheek because I would get so close to him. So it's hard to hide sometimes because of my particular style. So
you need Listerine
Nash
spray. Listerine spray, so you can just go kind of like Jim Carrey. One of your one of your personalities. Just spray it toward your mouth instead of away.
That dude is a legend.
That works wonders too.
I hope
All
I
right,
answered
so
your question.
you have met a lot of people. Wait, by the way, have you done an interview or met Snoop Dogg? I'm asking for Carlin because I know Carlin has too.
No, I have not. No, it's Carlin.
Oh,
Carlin,
we
were gonna ask
an interview with somebody you haven't.
We were gonna ask like the most famous person you'd interviewed, and I think mine would be Snoop Dogg. I was hoping we have that
What
in
did
common.
he smell like?
I'll leave that to your imagination.
He smelled very earthy.
Yeah, real earthy. Some good earth greeny undertones.
Right.
Incredibly nice guy. So professional too. Like the guy, I'm sure he's gotten interviewed thousands upon thousands of times. So he's got it dialed down to a science as well as, his PR that's handling him. But
I love that. Isn't that like awesome? Like a
it's
refreshing when someone is a professional not a professional interviewer, but like just knows when it's on camera, turn it up a little bit and it's just have some fun with it.
For sure. It was
easier.
Yeah, it made the job easier. Such a pro, in and out, boom, done. But is there like a person that you can think of that you're like, that's the most famous person I've ever interviewed? It's like, holy smokes, we're at the top.
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan
Jordan's at the top of that. Michael Jordan, and I've interviewed David Beckham and Mike Tyson. So those three are
wow.
And Jay-Z once, but very briefly.
Whoa.
I guess Drake's probably getting up there.
He's just going. We're like,
keep going.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not friends with these people. I just have had an interaction. So they wouldn't, I saw Mike Tyson recently and just would not, there's no way he would remember me. But yeah, Michael Jordan is probably at the top of that list.
So if you were to be quarantined with one person, which one would it be? Or out of anybody? I guess it'd be anybody you've met or not met. Are we doing dead or alive too, guys? Yeah, dead
you
or
can do
alive.
athletes, celebrities, dead or
We're gonna
alive.
make it broad for you.
Well, see, if you're quarantined with someone, then you want this person to be a great storyteller. And you just want them to be able to answer every question you had and just sit back and just put your hands under your chin and just be entertained for however long this person feels like talking. So I would imagine Charles Barkley has great stories. I would imagine someone like Samuel Jackson probably has amazing stories, or probably what would it be like to sit with Neil deGrasse Tyson for, imagine you went on a 2-day road trip. You would know about the entire universe by the end of that 2-day road trip, as well as that dude has met so many celebrities. You probably just people tell him so many things. It's like when you're an intellectual, feel like other intellectuals, they find themselves and then they exchange. They have like the secret society, like the Elon Musks and the Bill Gateses of the world. And, these even Malcolm Gladwell would be cool too. But I think it would probably be President Barack Obama for this reason. I want to know about the aliens. I want to know about every president at some point, their hair just goes white. So it's like you saw it with Clinton, you saw that with W. Bush, you saw that with Barack Obama. It's like they go to the aliens and then they're like, wow, the aliens are real. And then boom, The next day, you're like, yo, this guy just aged 45 years. Like, what between Tuesday and Thursday, like, what happened? Went to see
You
the
saw
alien.
one for sure. That's when you know.
Yeah. So I want to know about the aliens. Like, listen, and then we would just get to a certain point where I could just call him Barry and like, yo, B, or I just call him B. Like, B, tell me about Area 51. And then he would just, you know, we'd have to be like 11 Moscow mules deep. He's probably a Scotch man, probably like an 18-year single malt, and then just let it loose.
That's a good one.
I love that. Like talking to
Also-
a president, like, yeah, go for it.
So, I'm so sorry, John. Also, I would love to just, you also kind of want to pick someone who you would love to be able to go through their phone. Like, let me just see text messages from other famous people, or just like, what kind of crazy ish is in your group chat?
Well, what do you think would be the 5 videos that would pop up on Barack Obama's YouTube if you played that game with him?
Ooh, wow. I bet it's like one, it's going to be like a song, like a music, like a contemporary, like maybe Brock watched Tootsie Slide by Drake. Then like something from like the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal. Then something just to like laugh. So like either a Kimmel monologue or a Stephen Colbert or a Samantha Bee like monologue, or Trevor Noah. Like there's a monologue, and then maybe like what else would pop up in his suggested? Then like
An X-Files episode or something?
no, I
Something
feel like it would
alien.
be like something to make a certain dish, like how to make fluffier omelets. Because like, you know, like the guy lived in the White House for 8 years. So Barack Obama wasn't making any meals. So like
Even
now
better,
that
like how to clean your, like how to vacuum, how to use a vacuum, how to use a vacuum.
Yes. Yes. Like how to change the filter in my Dyson vacuum, like things like that.
It's hard.
It's
That's
hard.
to do.
But I think finally for you, if sports didn't exist, obviously we're at a time right now where a bunch of us are sidelined. We're trying to figure out the content we're throwing out there, and we're imagining, oh my gosh, if this was like this all the time, you know, what would I be doing? So what would you be doing if sports didn't exist from here on out?
Oh, wow. Wow. That seems so
Powerful.
fatalistic. That is like, wow. If this was our new normal forever, geez. Well, I still would want to be some kind of creator or creative. So I would like, man, I don't think I would go into the dude perfect lane because they own that lane, but maybe like I would try to challenge some 7-year-old. There's like some 7 or 10-year-old or 12-year-old that makes $30 million a year by unboxing stuff on YouTube. Maybe that would be my first, like, let me just unbox like stuff that I get, or like I'd be like the Amazon bandit. I just go like raiding other people's like Amazon things. No, of course I would get caught. Also, I'm not that fast of a runner. Also, it would just be feeding the stereotype. Okay, let's forget that idea. You know, I don't know.
Go back to like your childhood. Like, did you always want to do this, or what did you want to be when you were a kid?
I want to be Will Smith. I want to be Will Smith and Jim Carrey.
Well, you said,
And then-
okay, so you legit did all the way back as a kid.
yeah, and it just never worked out because I just didn't have the talent or the discipline. So I transitioned into sports, and then I found a way to kind of recall some of those moments that I watched a bunch of times on VHS. So that's kind of where,
That makes me think of one more thing.
Sure.
So if there was a movie about your life, I'm guessing that you'd have Will Smith play you.
No. Kenan Thompson.
Kenan Thompson.
Yeah, because
And
we have
then-
similar body. Kenan Thompson. And then you can just look at Kenan Thompson and start laughing. And then he's a better singer, he's just better physical performer than me. And then hopefully he would just break out into like a ooh-wee. What's up with that? Like has no.
What up with that?
Yeah, what up with that? Yeah. Shoot. I totally ruined it.
Like, he's hilarious, by the way. I talked to him at the NHL Awards.
Oh,
last year,
sick.
and I was
Yeah.
I was just like, hey, here's the microphone. Just say anything. And you knew it was going to be funny. And I just loved it. It was the same with Blake Anderson when he came to a Sharks game a couple Stanley Cup playoffs ago. There's people like that are so funny. But Keenan's perfect for you. That'd be the Cabbie presents the movie. That'd be incredible.
That's
Nobody
good.
would see it. Nobody see it. Wait, did you guys answer all the questions in previous podcasts that you asked me about, like who's the most famous person that you've interviewed, or what you guys would be doing if this is our new normal, or how you guys maintain creativity? Have you guys had those conversations already?
To a different type of extent, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, don't cheat your audience. Your audience wants to know about you guys too, as well as your dumbass game.
We did an episode 1 where we gave about enough detail about us as anybody wants to hear. So
Okay,
This is
well,
kind of serving as our platform. Abby and John came up with this as a outlet of something to do and a place to put their creativity to kind of aid not only the people that are on the sidelines with us, but themselves at the same time. And it's just like that. This is kind of the answer for that question. I
okay.
feel like, yeah. And it's
Dope.
a vessel of, how do you continue the creativity? How can we get our sports fix? Because what if the world looks like this for however much longer? We don't even
I have
know
a
when
question
it's
for
gonna
you
end.
guys.
okay.
Because relationships are very important in what we do. How have you balanced how much you are messaging players and like either messaging players for like content things? Everybody has so much time, and are you guys being a little bit more connected than you usually would be, or have you pulled back a little bit because for whatever reason?
I'll start. It's a little bit of both. So we were, let's see, I interviewed quite a few guys via FaceTime and on like a recorded Skype call for this virtual reality, like hockey series that our mascot Bailey was doing. And we'd have, intermission interviews with the players and kind of ask them, what they've been up to, what their routines have been like, and how things have changed. And that was all facilitated through PR, but it was like nice to connect with them kind of fresh out the gate too while all of this was happening. It was really like comforting for me anyway to just hear that they're okay and to let people know, hey, there's a lot of fans that miss you guys. This is great that you're doing this. But since then, there's a lot of, I don't want to say I'm hesitant, but I toe the line of using this time to capitalize on everybody's downtime. It's very strange to know that, like, what if they're battling somebody in their family being sick, or what if they're trying to keep their children safe, and it's just like a really weird time. Well, yeah, we have this free time and we're all watching Netflix and we get to do this podcast, but like it's scary, Cabbie. And I don't know if it's like that for you too, but it's a weird line to toe to know how comfortable you should feel about it.
Yeah, so Carlin is obviously, you're still doing stuff for Fox, but like for me, like I work for the team and the team only, like, and so 55% of the Hurricanes full-time staff was furloughed. So I'm already just as like Gameday, like I haven't had a job since the game stopped. And then like, even like my boss and the people I work with aren't even working. And to Carlin's point, I think that's the biggest thing is like, you don't, like it's an awkward time for everybody. And so you're following what the players are doing on social media and you're trying to keep up with what they're doing. And kind of like we are right now, it's almost like a reset. Like, what do we do with our time? We don't get this time to, figure out, like almost like reevaluate like our careers and what we're doing. And just time, like I never get to see my family, and I've been at the beach for like 2 weeks with my family. Like that's something that I take for granted. And you see that with the players and the coaches, like all this time that they're getting with family and friends. And that's kind of the silver lining of all of it, is like you don't want to bother them while they do have this time to themselves that they don't normally get. So I try to be an optimist about all of that. And it's like, this is a time for us to reset and spend time with people that we don't often get to. So why bother them, especially when, nobody, sports isn't happening. Like what kind of news? And for you, it might be different. To Carlin's point, like, what are you doing? Like you're an entertainer. You do get that human side of these athletes and stuff. And so that's kind of an all the time for you. I feel like it doesn't matter if the season's on or off. I feel like
I've been similar to what Carlin was saying, or to echo her sentiments. I've resisted reaching out to guys. Cause I feel a little uncomfortable trying to capitalize on this time. Imagine there are probably 7,900,000 more podcasts that have emerged, and like just random people in their DMs, hey, can you come on my podcast? Can you come on or can you FaceTime or whatever? So I don't want to add to that noise. And also it's sometimes you feel like you're asking a favor of players for their time. So I kind of want to, like, if I'm going to call in a favor, I don't know if I want it to be now. I want it to be something a little bit more substantial, while also just recognizing that they might just not want to be bothered and bothered by me specifically, because I'm a specific type of obnoxious person. So what about you, John? You have great relationships with your guys on San Jose.
Yeah, and it's like I've been able to create some great relationship with those guys, and they've been able to open up to me. And I have the same mindset as you guys too, that it's like, well, I don't know if I want to bother them, and this kind of would be a good time to capitalize. And I do think about the aspect, I was talking to my parents about it. Everybody's in the same boat. You know, they might have a different financial situation or living situation or family dynamic or whatever it may be, but we're all going through COVID-19. So we can all relate to that aspect. So there's been a few guys that I've reached out to just to see how they're doing, but not really to ask any of those favors, because I'm the same way too, that the last thing I want them to think when things get up and running again was, oh yeah, I talked to John and he was really trying to like use me during this time. And I think you got to figure out what relationships you have with certain guys, because I think we all know that with all the teams we've worked with and different PR staff, that there's certain guys that you don't push the limit.
Yeah.
Especially at a time like this. So I think I've been more just trying to maintain those relationships, and that's something that you're good at too, and just kind of ride the wave a little bit, and then realize that, hey, if I'm not going to be able to talk to some of these athletes, I want to talk to different media personalities like you. And we were talking to like Nick Gismondi and a few other people around the league and around the sports industry, and people want to hear stories from you. They want to hear that your connections with athletes. So give people that athlete fix from a different perspective, and that's what I've been trying to do.
Well, thank you very much for having me. This was a lot of fun to do, and to walk down memory lane was fun and enjoyable with you guys. So I look forward to us seeing each other in real life so we can hug.
I know.
Virtual hug.
You know, virtual hugs, and this. We need to hit a patio and have like happy hour for real.
All the Moscow mules.
All of the Moscow mules, yes.
All the hard seltzers too. Just no shame. No shame in my game.
Carlin's got her Diet Coke.
Don't forget the Diet Cokes.
Of course.
But Cabbie, really appreciate you, man. Seriously,
you.
it means a lot for you
pleasure.
jumping
Yeah,
on
this has
here.
been
And I know
awesome.
you got a lot of stuff going on, so we really appreciate it.
No problem. It was a joy. It was a joy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cabbie. Cabbie is all over the place, but he's so much fun. And I know he's been a great friend and mentor to me. I admire a lot of his work so much, and the fact that he opens up about some of the relationships that he's had. People hopefully loved this entire episode and just ate it up.
I think it's so great. He's just unapologetically himself. And I think that's something huge for all of us to remember, is to never take yourselves too seriously, especially in this industry. And I think that's an awesome quality of his and why he's been so successful. So
For sure. He truly brings out the human side in the athletes and people that he gets to interview. And I think we saw why. And it's got a lot to do with his big infectious personality. And it was great to kind of just dissect his process and hear all about it today.
Well, once again, big thank you to Cabbie Richards. That was a lot of fun. Don't forget to like, subscribe, rate us, and rate Abby's red hair 5 stars, please. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you guys next episode.